The ability to be composed and regulate my anger is directly compared to the integrity in our home. So if I want to raise children that have integrity, who are honest, I need to be honest with myself about how much my anger is hindering that.
Welcome to the Art of Raising Humans.
Hello, and welcome to episode 11 in the Art of Raising Humans podcast. I'm Kyle.
I'm Sarah.
And this should be, if everything's correct, Sarah, if we've got our timing correct, this should be dropping right after Christmas. So I want to say Merry Christmas. Hope you had a fantastic Christmas. And as I was thinking about the subject on this time, I mean, this is a time when a lot of family comes around, maybe kids are around more, maybe emotions are high because there's a lot of joy, but a lot of sadness and disappointment. Maybe kids didn't get things they wanted that they wish they would have had, which maybe go back and listen to that gratitude podcast, a couple one about that, because I think Christmas time is a great time to help develop gratitude with the gift giving and all that kind of stuff. But I thought discussing anger would be a really good one to discuss, to give just for you and I to discuss how we handle that, how we see it, because I think maybe there might be some tantrums. You know, there might be some big feelings of anger over this time.
Well, holidays are beautiful and wonderful. They're also times of high stress. We have a lot going on. We might have family get-togethers, late nights, busy days, and all that stress makes it much easier to get angry.
Yeah, and this is a time also for kids to see how you regulate your anger, right? And for a lot of good modeling can happen during this time too. Okay, so first of all, what does anger look like for us? And by us, I mean you and me. So what does anger look like for us? Why don't you? How does anger impact you, Sarah, and how do you express it?
I would have said I very rarely feel angry. I can feel frustrated, but anger is not a feeling. I was very good at avoiding anger. I think now, as I just do some personal growth, I try to be more aware of that irritated, frustrated, mad, angry spectrum.
The whole range.
Yeah. I don't like the feeling. It's my least favorite feeling.
Okay.
And what was the rest of the question?
What does anger look like for you? How do you express it? Yeah.
I generally will shut down, depending.
Okay.
If I feel like I can express it to the person, I might. But most of the time, 99% of people, I feel like, no, I just need to shut it down, just stuff it inside, and I might slip into more passive. That shutdown's more passive aggressive withdrawal.
Yep.
I can do a lot of, if I'm upset with you, I'm just going to withdraw and shut down.
Yep. Typically, you rarely express anger in the house. If you do, we all know something's up. Because we're like, Mom seems upset. We all need to pay attention now.
You pushed it really far.
Exactly. Because typically, anger is a feeling I'm comfortable with. I know early on in marriage, lots of times you don't have to get so angry. I say, I'm not angry. I'm frustrated. To me, frustration was a normal feeling that I felt many times throughout the day. I was very comfortable with it. I was very comfortable with expressing it. You and I both had two different approaches to it. It was I'd say a lot of our early conflicts were me being so confused as to why you were so surprised at what was upsetting me. Because even with my guy friends, in college and my best friends, we were angry with each other. We would yell at each other. I remember, I would call up my friend Josh, and I'd be talking to him about some sports related thing, some football game, and we'd be screaming at each other on the phone. And even when Josh was over at the house, Josh, I remember one time when we were in a really big argument about something, he loved to take the devil's advocate side, and we'd be like debating and arguing. And he would tell you, well, that the reason why he does that is because he loves me too much to let me be wrong.
I was pretty sure when the first time I heard these arguments, I thought, that's it. That friendship's over. I would never be speaking to that person again if we had gone to that intensity.
Yes.
But then somehow you guys are laughing and hugging and having a great time when it's all done. And I think I had never seen anything like that in my life.
But I do want to say that it was immature lots of times.
Yeah.
The anger there was a lot of growth that needed to happen. It was way too much the feeling, and all too common in our culture. Like I said, anger is typically okay in guys. Lots of times that is cultivated. So I felt like hey, it's okay for me to be angry, And typically it's downplayed or less desirable in girls or stuff like that, or seen as more of an issue, And so I know I had this kind of immature view of it. Me and Josh now don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
We're much more adult people. And I remember even when we had a really good conversation one time when we were getting that, and I don't like this. I don't want to do this anymore. Sarah has expanded me. Sarah has shown me a different way of communicating. I remember even early on, funny enough, we used to play video games together, you and I. When we first were married, lots of people were jealous of me because I had a wife who would stay up till 3 a.m. playing Halo with me. But I would get so mad at you during the video games because you weren't shooting the alien quick enough or something. And I remember you would say, I don't like this. I do not want to play with you if you're going to keep yelling at me. And I'd be like, what is wrong with you? You're not shooting the guy. Well, how else am I supposed to get you to shoot him, So you really expanded. I started thinking man, I do love playing with her. If yelling at her isn't working, I need to shift that. I need to change that. So that when I was writing this thing down about anger, I was thinking about typically what I didn't realize I was using it for is anger is typically a feeling we use as a way to intimidate and influence.
Yeah. I'd
And-
say kind of control.
Yeah, kind of get control.
Yeah.
What I saw it as with the word control is I couldn't control what was happening in me. So I would use anger to control the other person, whether it was the
To
kid.
help you feel better.
Exactly, to help me feel in control.
Yeah.
Because I felt out of control, right? And so if I could get big enough, with my anger, then I could cause the situation to change, I think it's really like we see a pattern and we feel kind of helpless to do anything about it. And so we get really big and angry to influence the pattern, to make it change. And so all of a sudden, instead of feeling helpless, I feel powerful. And you can see that. Think about anger. What is it? I'm trying to get bigger. Well, how am I getting bigger? Sometimes with my arms. I like to wave my arms a lot when I'm getting mad. My voice gets louder. So I'm trying to take up more space. And I'm basically saying, I am powerful. You think I'm helpless and weak? I'm not. I'm powerful.
Yeah, because anger a lot of times kind of is this, there's usually other feelings behind the anger, but those are more vulnerable feelings, and it's harder to go there, don't necessarily want to think about how, maybe I'm not feeling enough in this moment.
Yep.
Maybe I feel like you're betraying me.
Yep.
My feelings are hurt. But instead of going there, which feels more vulnerable, anger feels more comfortable. And especially for men, it feels more comfortable. It's acceptable. I'll be angry. And it's more of an attack mode where the other one makes you feel...
Well, so you said you would be more passive aggressive. I definitely was leaning towards aggressive, And I remember early on some of the ways we tried to help each other with this was one, we tried to get rid of the language of someone makes me mad. Right. So I want to hit that. We didn't hit that in the feeling episode last, but I want to encourage everybody who's listening, just throw that out. Okay. Nobody makes me feel anything. I choose to feel what I feel. Okay. It may seem like you're helpless to it, but you are always choosing to feel what you feel. So I remember one time you had a boss who was kind of hard to work with, and you would come home and say, my boss makes me so mad. But one day we had a good laugh and you said, my boss gave me the opportunity to be angry today, and I took that opportunity. And it just sounded more honest. It sounded more freeing, because if you took the opportunity today, you don't have to take the opportunity tomorrow, right?
Well, it puts me back in the seat of, my feelings don't run me, or somebody does something and I just, that's it. I just have to feel angry, or this happens and I just have to feel.
Yeah.
You can feel.
Yep.
That's totally fine.
Yep.
But we're not a puppet where our emotions are being driven by all this external thing, all the events happening around me, all the people around me, they're in control of my feelings. They're making me so mad.
Yeah.
And so when I think you own it, it frees you to do something about it, because regardless of what the other person's doing, I can choose me and what I'm doing and what I'm feeling. I can do something about that.
Yeah, when you say it makes you so mad, it leaves you powerless to change it. It also justifies however angry you get, because they made you do that, And so I think the switch for us was a couple of things. One was the impact I started seeing my anger have. I saw it impact you, and I saw that you didn't like it, but I thought, okay, I want to change that. I don't want her to, stop playing video games with me or be withdrawn when I'm getting upset. So I want to work on that. But even more so, there was two key things. One, I remember Dr. Markham, when I was doing training with her, saying, what if we videotaped our faces when we were mad and yelling? And I thought, wow, I don't want to do that, because I think I would look pretty crazy, you know? And I think it'd be interesting for all of you who are listening to think about that. What if you videotaped when you were getting really big and mad and yelling at your kid? How would you look, you know, to the kid? And then the other one was, I remember one time being in the car when Abby was just a little baby. Go ahead.
I was going to cut in on that.
Yeah, do it.
You might be big and angry, but what if you look shut down, withdrawn? What if you look like, I don't love you right now because you are upsetting me?
Yeah.
Because that's the other side of that, and I think it's very important to mention.
Yeah.
Some people are big and yelling, and that's scary.
Yeah.
But some people are,
Yeah,
I'm
it's good
mad at
points.
you,
So
I
good.
don't love you,
Yeah.
you're
Shut
not
down.
enough.
Yeah.
And pull back and give you
Yeah.
that cold
Yes.
stare.
Yep.
And,
Oh,
and that hurts too.
It does. It does.
So I think you got to hold that.
and
Anger can be.
I've done that. I actually did that when I started thinking, stop yelling, Kyle. I shifted to that. So I remember there being times I was mad and I just shut off any emotion to where the kids couldn't reach my heart. And it was like, no, you will suffer. I'll shut down.
And that hurts.
Yes.
That hurts
yes.
a relationship deeply.
It does. And so, but then the other aspect was I was thinking was I remember one time when I started noticing the impact, Abby was a little baby. She was in the back seat. I was talking to you on the phone and something happened in traffic and I raised my voice at this thing that happened in traffic and Abby started crying. And I was like, I don't know what's wrong with Abby. She's crying. And then you were like, Kyle, you were just yelling at this other thing. She has no idea why. And I was like, oh no, like I didn't even put that together. That like my feelings could impact her. I just assumed as a little baby she'd be oblivious to what I'm doing, but that she was scared, right? And so that's where I started seeing the impact it could have. And what we know just from the research is anger does hurt and it hinders connection. So if you haven't listened to the previous podcast about feelings, I'd love for you to go back to that just so you understand that we're not talking about getting rid of anger. We're not talking about like, don't be frustrated, don't be mad. Like, no, feel these feelings. Just let's understand what to do with them. And what I was doing with them was letting them take me over or you were letting them shut you down, right? And that anger hurts and hinders the connection, which is really the only influence we have with our kids.
It's almost not even the feeling of anger, right? It's what we do.
That's right.
If you come in yelling strong, that's going to hurt the relationship. If you come in as cold as ice and withdrawn, that hurts the relationship too. So it's not just the feeling; it's the behaviors that follow the feeling, and that's what we're talking about.
And then when Dr. Siegel, when he's doing his brain research in his books, he talks about these moments where we do yell at our kids or pull away as toxic ruptures, and that really hit home too. It almost seemed like you're adding toxicity into it. And he even says in his books, you can't make that go away. Like it's going to be there. Now we'll talk about things that you and I do to help minimize the damage and repair. But once you've done it, it's put some toxicity in there, you know? So just like anyway, if a boss screamed at you or a friend did that, it would change the relationship a little bit. You know, you'd be a little bit less honest with them.
It's like if it never existed and then it did, it does now, and you can't make it not exist.
Another big impact I see with anger is kids, and this is just also proven through research, kids are less likely to be honest. Right?
Definitely.
Almost every kid I see who lies, and the parents are mad that the kid has lied, they say, I didn't tell them the truth because I thought they yell at me, or I thought I'd get grounded, or I thought I would. I've seen some parents try to do like a truth table, where they just like, hey, whatever you say to me here, it stays here. And it's awesome when the kid hears that, like, are you serious? The kid's like, oh, I can say anything right now. I can really tell you. And they actually want to be honest. They want to have the connection. They wish.
Well, they want to, let go of that burden they're carrying around, and it always creates space between you, right? But if I can tell you anything, now there's no distance between us.
And I've seen what the anger done too is what with some parents is really they're mad about the lying, but really when I hear them talk to one another, it's really like the parent's truth is the only truth, and unless the kid agrees with that truth, they're lying. And so the kid says, well, I need to tell them whatever truth they're willing to accept, And so they learn through that fear, like I'm watching to see, are you about to blow up at me? Okay, then I need to change the story so it's more palatable to you. It reminds me of that movie, A Few Good Men, when he says, you can't handle the truth. And I feel like I know I can fall into that. I know sometimes the kids will tell me something that I don't want to hear. And how do I let them know that? I get really mad.
And we just gotta be honest too. We do the same thing. If you have to tell your boss something your boss is not gonna like, aren't you thinking, you're choosing your words carefully.
Exactly, yeah.
You're thinking, how much of
good.
the whole story am I going to tell
Yeah,
here? How
yeah.
am I going to say it?
Yeah.
Do I have to tell them?
Yeah.
If you have a conflict with your spouse, if there's something you got to go and tell your best friend, people that are in your lives, we're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes
That's a
we
good point.
elect not to tell them too.
Yeah, and so I anytime I'm seeing a kid not be honest, almost every time it's due to anger in the home. It's due to some fear of what the reaction's going to be, right? Either the parent's going to withdraw from them or they're going to be aggressive towards them. So I love how Dr. Becky Bailey ties that in together. The ability to be composed and regulate my anger is directly compared to the integrity in our home. So if I want to raise children that have integrity, who are honest, I need to be honest with myself about how much my anger is hindering that.
Yeah. It's asking a lot of kids to just be like, I know they're going to be mad and disappointed.
Yep.
I know they might withdraw their love or punish me or whatever. It's asking a lot of a little human to be brave enough to say, I'm going to take it because it's important to be honest.
Yeah, even if you're going to lecture me for an hour and yell at me, I think it's really important to be honest.
Flip side of that, it's really hard to be a parent composed in those moments.
Yeah.
That's really, really hard.
It is hard. Well, and I'm thinking, so another story that just happened a couple weeks ago. Abby and I did this thing. We spoke at this MOPS event, and I was talking about feelings, and anger came up, and Abby was talking about how I used to not appreciate feelings as much, and I do more now. But as she was driving home, she said, Dad, I lost my water bottle, and I can't find it, and I haven't told you for a couple days because I was afraid of how mad you'd get at me, because she's lost a lot of things. so it's sometimes, obviously I get upset about that. And my natural inclination is to get angry and to go, why did you lose it? And do this whole, even though that doesn't seem to be helping.
Hopefully that's going to prevent her from, if I get mad enough at her, she'll never lose something again.
She'll never want me to get mad again. All it did was when she lost it again, she didn't want to tell me.
Yeah.
And what's funny about it, she actually didn't lose it. We found that she ended up finding it. It was in the garage in one of the camping chairs, folded up. So I see this all the time. How anger causes kids to pull back or kids to not be as honest. So Sarah started hitting upon the idea of what is anger for? Really, what is anger? If we're looking at anger, a lot of times even the anger management therapy, when people are doing those, I used to do those kind of groups, the focus was on the anger, but I liked how Sarah kind of started hitting at, you started talking about anger is a cover, right? So like in what I would say to a client is a secondary emotion that underneath anger, what anger is trying to do is protect me from more like vulnerable feelings like fear and hurt. Typically it's fear and hurt. Typically for a parent, it's fear of failure, fear of being incompetent, fear of like screwing up your kid. I mean, I know it's kind of a little bit how the parent will say it, right? Fear of being judged, fear that the kid is becoming like them. Whatever the fear is, but typically some kind of fear, or it hurt their feelings. I know I've experienced that when the kids have said something really poignant to me and it hurt my feelings and my reaction was anger.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Nothing.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, so with that, I encourage clients to be more open to not just focusing on what is the anger, right? But really focusing what's underneath there. What is the fear or hurt? So for you, think about what would be the fear or hurt that would typically be under your anger?
Mine would probably, in regards to my kids.
Yeah.
Okay, because everything would be different. But
I'd say kids
if I'm upset with them, it's usually I've done something wrong. For this to be going on, I somehow failed as a parent, or I haven't gotten, I just haven't taught them what they needed to know. It comes back.
Yeah,
I'm usually or I'm upset with myself for not having it's gone. I let it go too far. And I didn't hold to my boundaries or my wishes.
Yeah, that's good.
And because I can kind of tune, I think moms can do this a lot, but you can kind of tune out of your own needs and what you want or what's important to you. And you can kind of, all your stuff is set aside to take care of everyone else.
Yeah.
And after a while, it's almost like I get upset with myself for letting it go as far as it did.
I think mine is more a fear that I have no influence, that they don't care what I'm saying. That really bothers me. So if I feel like I've said something and they don't seem to be just like, boom, going to it, it's like, they don't even care what I say,
You're so unimportant.
That's right. I've got to get so much bigger and make sure they hear it this time, Definitely don't like feeling stupid either. So the fear of being stupid or looking like I don't know what I'm talking about. I like to feel like I know what I'm talking about, even though obviously don't always, but it is frustrating when a kid points that out to you.
Yeah.
So it's important to know these things. So I would encourage you, if you're listening to this podcast, to think about what is under your anger. Once again, like the previous podcast we did about feelings, it tells you more about you. Like Sarah's answer was totally different. Your answer was totally different than mine. I like this picture too, Sarah, of ignoring your anger, is like a warning light on your car that just keeps going off. So just picturing anger as that in your kid or in yourself, it's just a warning light on your car. So if a kid is exploding and mad,
yes,
what's underneath there?
Yes.
And we can put a piece of tape over it, like a little black electrical tape, so you don't even see it anymore. It's still there.
Yeah.
So if a kid is getting mad and they're throwing a big tantrum, their anger is getting up high, it's telling me there's some fear or there's some hurt. So if I can help the kid understand that better, then they're better able then to articulate that rather than the anger.
Yeah, when they're angry, we want to shut it down, send them to their room, do something like that, but we actually need to draw close. Mm-hmm. We need to move into the relationship. And we need to be safe doing that, because otherwise they're going to be bigger anger and they're going to pull back further or things like that. But we need to be a safe person and move into that relationship. So hopefully they feel safe enough to drop the anger and talk about what's really going on.
Now I want to shift to how do you help yourself do this. So I'll first talk about how I have tried to work on my anger, because it's been a work in progress. It's still got a lot of growth to do. But one thing I noticed at first when I was trying to be less angry is I get mad at myself a lot. So if I did blow up at the kids or yell at them, I'd beat myself up for a couple of days, and I found that's not working. And of course I would tell no client to do that, because it's just shame. I'm just building shame of like, why did you fail? Why'd you? So instead, going back to what we talked about with gratitude too, I wanted to be grateful and notice the progress, right? And so there's 3 ways I started measuring my anger to kind of go, yay, you're getting better. And it was, I liked measuring the frequency. How often was I blowing up? I was doing it daily, initially. I wanted to get to like 3 times a week, maybe. Then duration. How long did my anger last? Sarah, sometimes my anger would last 24 hours or more. I'd still be mad about something stupid that happened the day before. And and I'd want to shift. I wanted to shift to where that could go quicker, and I could move through the anger quicker. And then intensity. How big did my anger get? So frequency, duration, intensity. And I can say with confidence, I think you would agree, all those have gotten so much better. I'm not as angry as frequent. It lasts much less time. I can find myself shifting within less than a minute from anger to some other feeling, right? And then intensity. It doesn't get up to like an 8, 9, 10 anymore. Try to just keep it at like a 6 or lower. Would love to just max out at a 4, But what do you do to help notice your growth with anger? How do you work on it?
Well, I think for me, I have to work on accepting it.
Yeah.
And not just moving past it. I kind of shut down. I shut down to others, but I shut down to myself. Just make it all go away, and then it'll get better. Somehow I'm hopeful, and it'll all just go away and be better. But to actually stop, notice it, accept it. Okay, I'm frustrated about blah, blah, blah. And then do the practice of what am I really upset about? What's really behind it? And I think what helps me is doing intentional practices with the kids, because the more I think about practicing, I'm actually better when I'm trying to help them with it too. Here we are, we're angry. What are we angry about? Do the practice with them of take a step back, breathe, accept your anger, think about what's really bothering you. And as I practice with them, I grow in it myself.
That's so great, Sarah. You're kind of beating me to the idea too of how we then help our kids through the anger, right? Is of course we can talk about, a lot of this podcast, as you've noticed, is about us growing as humans to be the humans we'd like our kids to become. So all that stuff's fantastic, So just like you were saying, my anger, I had a story that when I would blow up, the narrative I had was, you need to be a better dad. You stink as a dad because you keep doing this, right? And that story was not helping me. So same way, you'll find kids have a similar story. Kids actually don't like hurting you. Kids actually don't like hurting their siblings. I'm telling you, I see the shame in sessions when they blow up at their parents. I'm sure you've experienced it as well. They beat themselves up. They think, I'm a horrible kid. What kind of kid does that? And they'll tell. So you as the parent being able to go back and help guide that story with them by teaching them skills such as breathing techniques, other kind of calming down things, but also uncovering what is really underneath there?
Yeah.
And then helping guide that story so they understand themselves better. And they're not scared of their anger, and they don't have to be controlled by it, but they also don't have to stuff it. Yeah. So then I think one more thing I wanted to add that I try to do with the kids, just to kind of help with that story, is whenever I do get mad and blow up the kids, a common question I will ask them is my anger about you or about me? And early on when I started doing this, almost 100% of the times the kids would say, about them. And you can see that, like, they were taking it. Obviously, they were getting a
Children
message.
do. Children, they're always gonna.
Your feelings are always about me. Yep.
You're
Yep.
upset. It's my fault. You're sad.
Yep.
It's my fault. You're.
Yeah. And so then I would say, no, it's not. My anger's about me. My anger is never about you. It's about me. Can I tell you what it tells me about me? And then I'd say, I was afraid that when I told you X, Y, and Z and you didn't do it, that my voice no longer mattered to you. And so that's why I got really big and loud. Okay. And so I'm sorry I did that. So part of the repair and helping with that toxic rupture stuff we talked about was, to me, helping shine a light really what was happening. That I knew the kids would think it's about them, because that's what kids do. And the more I could tell them it isn't about them, do you see? I mean, what I think is so cool about that, Sarah, is now when they become teenagers and they grow up, they won't think their anger is about me either. They'll understand their anger is about them, and they'll be curious about the anger within them and what it reveals to them about them.
Yeah, and the other side of, you said when you get big and upset, but the same thing, when you find that you've withdrawn or gone cold or, pulled back from your child and from that relationship, kids are so sensitive. They pick up on that, and you need to go back to that relationship, and you need to say it. You need to say, wow, I was upset and I kind of withdrew for a while. And because kids will, they'll say, well, yeah, I didn't think you loved me anymore. Or, and you want to invite those conversations to happen.
Yeah.
And make sure that you connect back in with them.
Yep. Yeah. And so on the last part, I was thinking, anytime a couple comes in and there is the kid they're saying that is angry, either he's angry shutting down or angry explosive, my first question is, which parent is modeling that to the kid? Okay. And I'm saying that because I think that's a really helpful thing, not to put blame, but to say who could possibly help this kid the most. It's that person. I think if that person could see that and own that in themselves, and then they could co-create with their kid how to approach the feeling in a healthier way. I would love for that parent to sit down with the kid and say, listen, the way you struggle, I struggle the same way. Hey, let's work on this together, and then you can start, let's do breathing techniques together. Let's pause. Let's do a yellow light warning if we're getting too angry. Let's just walk away for a moment and come back to it, right?
What do we like to do? Right.
Yeah.
What helps you feel better?
Exactly. Yes. And then the kid could say, Dad, you're getting kind of mad, or Mom, you're getting kind of upset. And they, oh, you're right. We're working on that, right? I even love, Markham has this one funny idea. Markham would not, neither would we recommend doing a reward chart, but doing one for parents of taking a vow of yellowacy. And what that's doing is trying to just help the parent be more aware of how often the kids think they're yelling. And so they have like a sticker chart they put on the fridge, and every day the kids get to say whether mom or dad yelled that day. And after they get so many stars, they get, they reward themselves in some way, right? It's kind of a fun way, because I know when I did something similar to that with the kids, there was days I thought I didn't yell at all. And the kids were like, no, you totally yelled. And it was really helpful to be like, oh, I was kind of mad. But to me, that didn't feel that big. To them, they did. So it helped me continue to reflect upon what they must be perceiving in these moments.
Yeah. And those conversations about what's behind the anger will better happen after you've had a chance to calm down and connect.
Yes.
So
100%.
Calm down, feel better, go do art, ride your bike, play
Regulate
basketball.
the emotion.
Yeah. Get to a good space, connect with your child, and have the conversation.
And the way you know you're in a good space is if you feel less like your hands are closed and your hands are more open. You've shifted up to the prefrontal cortex now. Your body will be less tense. You'll be less aroused by the situation, and instead you can just go open-handed and discuss what happened.
And it'll be the same thing if your child's the angry one.
Yeah.
You got to look for those signs and then move into connect, be safe, talk about it. Build the skills when you're not upset.
Yep.
So when you are upset, you have something that's not the moment to go, okay, now you need to breathe.
Exactly.
You've got to breathe when you're happy and feeling good.
So thank you once again for joining in this conversation with us. Sarah and I love sharing these with you. We want to say Merry Christmas. I hope this Christmas break is full of a bunch of memories. And I guarantee there's going to be opportunities for anger. And so I hope this podcast has helped you be able to see anger in a different way, and also help your kids be able to grow from it. Because I think all conflicts are opportunities for growth. All conflicts are opportunities to move towards each other rather than away from each other. So I hope this Christmas you're finding a lot of opportunities with siblings feelings with parent-child, even in marriage, to move towards each other. So thank you again for joining us in this conversation. We hope you'll join us next week. In January, we should have 4 episodes again, as opposed to the 3 we did this month. Would love your feedback if there's any specific topics you would like us to tackle this next new year, and be able to specifically talk about. Jump on to the iTunes and rate us and all those kind of fun things that really help us get our presence out there more to help more parents. So have a Merry Christmas. The Art of Raising Humans podcast should not be considered or used as counseling, but for educational purposes only.